Mikey, pal, buddy, yo, you're gonna have to learn how to do this by yourself. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. Today, we are talking about Season 7, Episode 10. Didn't take us long to screw up. It's only a paper moon. I have been looking forward to this episode for 7 seasons now. It's a biggie. Mike, how you doing, bud?
Doing all right. I watched this last night with the good old patrons over at patreon.com/K&M. And they were a lovely bunch of folks, but I was having some tech problems, go figure, as you're going to see me glancing over here and looking at the recording the whole time. And so I had to watch it again this morning. And it was just as good. I was just as affected. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's pretty generally revered, this episode. So I don't think we're going to be, and there's going to be hot takes, but I think it demands introspection, reflection, and to be given its flowers today. And so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, for sure. Certainly an important episode in Trek. I think an important episode sort of in television. So lots to talk about. We're going to get into it. I have some surprises for Mike. It's going to be fun. But before we get too far into it, we have to talk about last week's episode, Covenant. And let me tell you, we spent a lot of time talking about the cults of it all. And little did we know how many interesting thoughts and experiences that our friends, the viewers of this show, have had to say about it. If you would like to join them and have me read your comment here on the show, you can join them at patreon.com/K&M, spell out that and, get a bunch of fun bonus content, which sometimes we fulfill and sometimes we don't, because we suck at this. But we appreciate it and we love you, and we are always happy to read your comments here.
Eventually.
We get there. Look, if we keep,
we got a movie to watch.
We have we're like 7 movies behind now. And spoiler alert, we have some thinking to do on that as of this episode.
Well, we excel at thinking, Keith, because our brains are
not so
broken.
much doing.
Yeah.
Not so much doing, but thinking. Oh, thinking real hard. Okay, so here is what you had to say. Joshua Cronin says, Covenant truly shows how evil 99% of cults are, and people that drink their Kool-Aid will do anything for the leader. Deep eye roll. But hey, almost every cult we've heard of comes to an end, and sometimes sooner than we think. Fingers crossed, if you know what I mean. I do, my friend, and everything crossed. Anyway, good episode. Hopefully it doesn't end like most cults do. Anyway, good episode. It is dark, but again, Deep Space Nine tends to go there, and when Star Trek doesn't. Good storytelling, great acting, and love. They could save money for reusing the sets. Give it 87 self-sealing stem bolts. Brian from Video Game Drive-By says, welcome back, y'all. This is an oddly personal episode for me because I had an aunt who jumped from cult to cult most of her life. She got away from the worst one before the Comet event. Funny, we talked about that. That inspired this episode that took out most of the cult. Yeah, it's probably the one you think it is. I had met one of the guys at one of her cults before I spent a weekend with her after my grandmother's funeral, and the guy was basically Dukat. It was super creepy. Whoever wrote Dukat for this episode did their homework. That's terrifying.
Yes.
To answer your question about the cult leaders believing in what they do, I have always said the head of any religious group or cult knows it's a sham. As you said, they can't possibly believe it and still be the head of the group. Interesting. Anyway, feel free to join my organization, the Church of Bryantology. We don't have any commandments, only passive-aggressive suggestions. Wow, that went off track. Good episode. A bit off the track for the season. A bit like my comment. 73 stem bolts.
Oh, you fit in just well, Brian.
Off
the track, off the rails. Anything off center, we're there.
You know, sort of soft trying to build their own cult, but they don't feel confident enough to make commandments, so just suggestions. That's sort of what the show is. Carl Fisher says...
Asking for money and then giving it back.
Yes, and then, but asking for money, but like not very much, and then like feeling guilty, feeling like the guilt that we feel for not fulfilling our promises is stronger than the benefit we get from the money. You know how it is.
Oh, it's the worst.
Carl Fisher says, I appreciated the discussion of cults. I was in middle school during the Heaven's Gate incident, and only had a vague understanding from the adults around me at the time what was going on. I just thought the Hale-Bopp comet was really cool. Wait, when was Heaven's Gate? I feel like that was like late 90s. Is that right?
It's hard to say. I will say if you are interested in the cult thing, a couple of documentaries I really loved about it are, I'm going to mention a documentary today as well. The HBO NXIVM series, I cannot remember what it was called, but it's one about Keith Raniere and NXIVM, and I feel that it's from the victim's perspective. I think it's actually a pretty good documentary following people who have...
It's on my list and on my Plex. I just haven't watched it yet.
It doesn't feel as sort of like forced provocative as some of the others. So that's one. And then also, believe it or not, though less craft is involved in it, the Leah Remini Escaping Scientology television series is actually pretty great because people are very afraid of Scientology because they are terrifying, notoriously litigious, and they come and stalk you and they come for you.
Oh yeah.
Leah Remini, she ain't afraid. So and she's the first to admit that, like, hey, I was pretty terrible when I was part of that, and I think that's a great place to start and a great place to start me having some empathy, and I put it on the list as well. Great, thank you.
There you go. Carl finishes, I wish the writers had done more to invest us in the cultists throughout the series. Palwraith worshippers got so little screen attention, and it wasn't clear to me from the episode if this was the only group of Palwraith believers or if there were others. Except for bringing Dukat into the story, the Palwraiths were pretty one-dimensional. They were simply antagonists to the wormhole aliens, but we have little knowledge about that conflict. As far as stem bolts go, I give it a 70. It's a fine episode and all, just wraps up everything in a little bow too quickly. John B. says, great episode, shocked to hear of the low IMDb score. Any episode with Dukat is top tier for me, though. Yeah, agreed. Hibernation Pod says, directly or indirectly, I have been accused of being in a cult because I was part of something I needed to help save myself, or because of what I was culturally. People really do not like to listen. They just talk and accuse. Yeah, fair enough. And
well diagnosed, sir.
Yeah, I mean, and certainly we throw the word cult around pretty easily, and sometimes it is misapplied. Sometimes we just don't quite get it, but it can be extraordinarily helpful. Anyways, I totally forgot that this took place on Empok Nor. Kind of weird they think they were so well hidden in the big wide open. Definitely a dark episode with memorable moments. 80 self-sealing stem bolts. YouTube viewer says, in my opinion, the difference between a cult and a religion is that the cult exists entirely for the benefit of the leader or leaders. Everything is about sex except for sex, which is about power. Interesting. Ergo, even if a cult is not created as a sex cult, it often becomes one if the leader becomes powerful enough. I think most cult leaders don't start out believing their dogma, unless it's a secular or political cult, in which case I think they start out as true believers, then gradually let it mutate into something self-serving. Looking at the big three worst secular cult leaders, in order of body count, Mao, Stalin, and the Mustache Man, there was so much propaganda around that we didn't know what they really believed, only what they said they believed, which I think is true, and I think, to get to your original point about the difference between a cult and a religion, we don't really know, right? Every single leader in every single religion says they're doing it for these positive purposes.
I think it's a great time to apply the
Go
maxim, actions speak louder than words. Now, the problem in cults is that a lot of times those actions are obfuscated, but I think that the action in cults that is always on the surface is the restriction of access to the actions. I think that is a great red flag, be it cult, political or otherwise, to help see where you're headed.
You can also look at it in terms of cause and effect, right? If you say you're doing everything for good reasons, but the effect of what you are doing is negative, it begs some questions.
So Keith, I wanted to tell you my key light, which is is like the light that's in front of you that kind of brings color to the scene, is not working today for reasons. So I just have this one down light, which is I feel like every time I catch myself on the screen, I look like I'm being interrogated by a cult leader. So let's go with that. You
look, it's very dramatic. You have, you're
if
going
only this were in the pale
contrast.
moonlight, because that would be great.
That's true. That is true. So YouTube continues. For this episode, this is basically a capstone for DS9's narrative structure. Having Gul Dukat become the leader of the Pa-Wraith cult required a lot of build-up to make it work, and points out how it wouldn't have worked in previous seasons. Believing that the Pa-Wraiths turned a Bajoran baby into half Cardassian seems hard to believe, but some surprisingly mainstream people believe some very incredulous things. Hard agree on that. That part actually seemed realistic. Generally, I prefer issues with episodes with a small cast rather than a large ensemble. Kira and Dukat and Vedic Fala was enough. The main cast roles were very small, and that's okay. But this is the third or fourth episode in a row where Jake doesn't even get a single line. I wouldn't mind Ezri's character so much if 60% of her lines weren't lines that Jake could say instead. I don't think there is any better Jake advocate than YouTube viewer. Strong,
I love Jake too.
It's not Ezri's fault, but yeah, speak to the writers. Solid episode, no major flaws. 88 out of 100 dust-making self-deletion pills. JD says
that'd be a great little tabletop book. Is just all of their like clever
all the patrons rankings. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. All right. Well, for the coffee table companion book that nobody will buy.
That's okay. I'm sure Chat. Forget it. Just go ahead.
JD says, sorry, gotta strongly disagree. Jake should not have been, speaking of Jake, in the siege of AR-558. It would have killed the validity of the conversation between Sisko and Quark about you'd never send Jake out there. Fair. Out of This World, remember we talked about that show? Is something that I just last week posted the 3D file for the diamond-shaped box, which had Burt Reynolds as the voice of the dad emanating from the box. So if you enjoy the show, I can make you a prop from it. So for those of you who don't know, JD at JD Makes has an incredible Patreon. You should join, and he has the most prolific 3D printing designs that he puts up there. Just astoundingly prolific. So if you have a 3D printer and want Star Trek stuff, definitely go join his Patreon. But completely coincidentally to our conversation about it, I saw that he posted some props from the show Out of This World, and he posted it a couple of days before we ever talked about that show and went down the wormhole about it.
Let me tell you, 3D printers are cheap now, and it's got my impulses itchy, but I have a house now.
Yeah, you do. You do. It's harder to hide a 3D printer from Jen. You just get a little pocket printer. That's what you need. Jen's like, we don't have a roof. Why do we have a $3,000 3D printer?
That's like $300.
Even still.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah. But
What do you need that for, Mike? I need to print Star Trek toys.
I need you to print the box that speaks Burt Reynolds' voice in a sitcom from the 80s. I need this!
You know what? You know what Jen would say? Okay.
I know, because Jen's a nicer person than all of us.
Just a golden shining beacon on a hill.
Speaking of golden shining beacons, Mike, sorry to pop a hole in your worm, but the Branch Davidians were founded in 1957. David Koresh did not in fact join them until 1981, then rose up through the ranks and took charge around 87, before leading them to the inevitable in 93. Why do I know this? My best friend from birth through my early 20s was the great nephew of the guy that founded the Branch Davidians. All right, so I have so many more questions about this, because I don't know enough about it. I only know about the Branch Davidians post David Koresh. Was the organization fundamentally different that got corrupted by Koresh, or was it already that and Koresh just supercharged it? Very curious. Anyway, that's a rhetorical. Also, what you were talking about in terms of the problem of evil, which is Mike needs to
keep talking.
Okay, all right. Which is the
philosophical
so much face.
Oh God, get it away.
Question of how to reconcile the existence of evil and suffering with an omnipotent, omnibenevolent, and omniscient God. And I have yet to hear a response to this that satisfies me. Your mileage may vary. I have not either. I will say that if you don't mind an existential challenge, C.S. Lewis wrote what was, for me, the most intriguing Christian response to the problem of evil in his book, Mere Christianity. I do not mind an existential challenge, and I would love to hear what C.S. Lewis had to say about that. That's interesting.
I'd like to listen to anything C.S. Lewis has to say.
I have mixed feelings, but
okay.
But I would like to hear at least, what JD thinks is the best explanation for that. But the most interesting moment for me in the episode is the Vedic taking the pill, because he had reached that in for a penny, in for a pound, a sunk cost fallacy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, easily a 86 self-sealing stem bolts from me. And that is the Patron Comments. You can join them at patreon.com/K&M. Fascinating thoughts from everybody. Thank you so much for contributing all of that. So let's talk about It's Only a Paper Moon, which is really the sequel to AR-558, which is the sequel to lots of things. It aired about a month and a half after the last episode. So we took off for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and this aired on December 30th, 1998. So I would have been back from college, my freshman year, at that point. The top song, speaking of somewhat problematic, somewhat inspirational, I'm Your Angel, R. Kelly and Celine Dion. That is the duet I never expected to remember.
You really, I hit the reverb button and everything, and then you...
Come on, Mike, you're a whiz at this.
You let me out on pretty dark plank. Well, I'll just say this. Turns out he was no one's angel, Keith.
No, indeed. The top movie was Patch Adams.
Oh, God, I love that movie.
But that is not the interesting part of movies.
It's not?
In this time, in 1998, because...
There must have been a Trek release.
2 weeks previous to this, Star Trek Insurrection came out. Which I did not realize until I was prepping for this. The question we need to ask Mike's cheek... Wait, do it again. Here.
Thanks, buddy. I needed it.
So the question about what next movie? So we promised to watch Save the Whales like 3 months ago.
Right.
But now we might need to watch Insurrection next because it happens in the timeline right where we're at now.
All right.
Hard to say.
I'd give you input, but you're not going to listen to it. So whatever you think.
It's not that I'm not going to listen. It's that I'm not going to remember.
Agree to disagree on that.
Or look, these are not mutually exclusive.
I mean,
things.
listening and taking into consideration are separate. So.
Totally. But I remember going to see this one in the theaters over that Christmas break, of course, because both my Uncle Jim and Sean worked on it.
That's cool. For that reason alone, we should watch it.
Yeah. So, and I remember Sean showing me his like crew jacket that they got out of it, which has like written over the pocket on the inside, like the cringiest line in the movie, "Bring food." And so the crew actually inscribed the crew jackets with that line. It was pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
So there you go. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. Mike, what was on TV?
Keith, I'd love to tell you, so I will. I haven't looked at it, but you
asked me for the date.
I know there was a show on ABC. We've mentioned them all before, but this one I forgot about. 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place.
Oh, sure. That was Nathan Fillion's first thing, right?
I can officially say I never watched that show.
You know what's crazy? I am so famous for not having seen anything that you bring up in this.
Yeah.
I actually watched some of that show.
Probably
the only person.
CBS had 2 specials that night. They ran a special called Life Remembers, and also the Kennedy Center Honors, but it doesn't tell us who they were honoring. That was the 21st annual.
That was back when they meant anything.
Go ahead.
Oh, but wait. We have to go back to 2 Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Of course we do, yeah.
So Nathan Fillion, of course, the legendary Nathan Fillion was on this. Do you know who the face of the show was?
No.
Ryan Reynolds.
Really? Yes! I remember that now.
Did it 81 episodes.
Huh.
Did almost 100 episodes of this show. That's crazy.
Huh. Keith, and then on Fox, one of my favorite shows, Breaking the Magician's Code.
Oh, of course.
Which was like a big scandal. That's back in the day when like there wasn't enough scandals, so like that was a scandal. And it was just a dude with a mask like showing easy tricks and how they did them. But magicians famously don't like their dirty laundry aired.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan. Yeah, well, there you go. What was Voyager doing tonight? Well, they were off. The last episode that they aired was Counterpoint. Really interesting episode about hiding immigrants from ICE. So,
Dean Cain!
I know. Dean Cain's breaking in! Dean Cain hasn't paid his taxes, so he had to join ICE! Alright, so... It's true. Alright, anyway...
Did you know that they're pulling people in from other agencies, right? So there's this... It's funny, but not funny. There are people bringing people in from the Postmaster General. So literally, there's a photo in front of a Home Depot.
Yep.
People getting rounded up.
By your mailman.
By the mailman, yeah.
The word you're looking for is not funny, it's terrifying. All right, so it's only Paper Moon. Let's go back into something cheerier. Was directed...
No!
Keith, waste your time
With what?
with trivial trivia.
Okay, well, I'm going to work in some of these other credits into Trivial Trivia.
I'm going to fix my face one last time while you talk.
Oh my God.
I'm upset. I'm hyperfixated now.
All right, somebody do something inappropriate with that.
There we go. I needed a little... I'll take blue over green.
a little jaundiced, and now you're like a ghost.
I'm working on it.
You went from like liver failure to like the liver failed, and now you're coming back to haunt the podcast.
Really, I really need this thing to work. Okay, whatever. We're gonna roll with it.
Hilarious. All right, so this episode was directed by Anson Williams, who last directed Statistical Probabilities. Easy for me to say. It is written by Ronald D. Moore with a story by David Mack and John J. Ordover, who they both contributed to Starship Down. So now it is time for Trivial Trivia. Aaron Eisenberg considers this episode his personal favorite. Aaron also mentioned in several interviews that a number of wounded combat veterans reached out to him and contacted him after the episode aired to compliment him on how real to life his acting was, since the episode dealt primarily with Nog coming to grips with the psychological trauma of being wounded in battle. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I made a comment on the watch along that it is very clear to me that this is a well-researched performance and not just a moody performance, right? I'm sad. I'm coming back from work and I'm upset. Like, this is, he looked into it, he did some reading, he did some speaking with some folks. This is researched.
This is a phenomenal.
This could win an Emmy, and I'm shocked that
it should.
Yeah.
It should have won an Emmy, no question. Like, this is Aaron Eisenberg's triumph of a career.
Yeah, what a legacy! What a legacy!
For sure.
To have one performance at least.
And it's not just good; it's helping people. Like it, like the number of combat veterans with PTSD who used this episode as a way to help them through it. Like, it's incredibly important.
I'm gonna make this point now. I was gonna wait, but I think I can sort of define why I think it's a triumph. Aside from just like everything you just said. There are harrowing performances that make you feel uncomfortable, right? Then there are harrowing performances that make you feel so uncomfortable that you would never revisit that. I would never go back and watch that again. See Schindler's List, see movies of this. You feel like compelled to get through it. I feel that way with a lot of Holocaust type material. I feel like I must bear witness, but I'm not sure I would revisit.
Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
I will never watch that movie again.
Then there are harrowing performances that are compelling, that feel cathartic, and also move emotionally forward. Even though this is about being emotionally stuck, you can feel the transition. It's kind of insane how well executed it is. So we'll get into all of that, but it is a triumph.
It's a triumph. It's an unqualified triumph. So this episode contains a couple of scenes from the siege of AR-558 as flashbacks. One was a deleted scene, not seen in the episode. After Bashir puts on the song, he goes to check on Nog, who inquires about the song's title. So that was actually shot for the other episode. So Vic says in one scene, "So, now that the chief told you I'm smarter than the average bear, will you stop messing around in my holosuite?" This, of course, is a reference to the 60s cartoon character Yogi Bear, who frequently and famously stated, "I'm smarter than the average bear." James Darren, the actor who plays Vic, also provided the singing voice of Yogi Bear in a scene for the film Hey There, It's Yogi Bear in 1964. So James Darren was actually playing Yogi Bear in the time period that this holosuite program takes place in.
That's amazing. Also amazing and tangentially, did you know, Keith, and viewers at large, there's a place in Pennsylvania, not far from where I live, where my brother just took his family and my sister's family, called Jellystone Park, which is a camping RV place that is modeled after and is a resort based on the Jellystone Park made famous by the cartoon Yogi Bear. It is a whole place themed after Yogi Bear.
And everybody who gets the reference is dead.
It is still in operation. And my nieces, who are young, took a picture with Yogi Bear and Ranger. What was his name? It was Boo Boo, Yogi, and whoever the Ranger is. And they have no idea who these people are. It's pretty crazy. Look it up.
Picnic basket.
Jellystone Park in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode of it.
Oh, I love Yogi Bear, actually. I was big into Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Okay.
Are those the same property?
I think, well, Hanna-Barbera was a cartoon empire, right? They owned Grape Ape, they owned all these people. I'm pretty sure Yogi Bear was a Hanna-Barbera.
No idea. I thought Hanna-Barbera was like one of those Disney tween shows.
That's Hannah Montana.
Oh, right. Okay. So here, I'm old enough and I didn't have cable, so I have no points of reference for all of those things. So like all these like pop stars that come out, Apparently, they all used to be on those shows, but I have no, like, Olivia Rodrigo and whatever. Like, I had no point of reference for them from that. Anyway, I'm old. Point is, I'm old. So Nog and Vic mention how they liked the movie The Searchers from 1956. One of the protagonists of that movie was played by Jeffrey Hunter. You know who Jeffrey Hunter is, Mike?
Tell me, Keith.
He played the original Captain Christopher Pike.
Oh.
So, yeah, there you go. In the original 1964 pilot. So, again, Vic Fontaine's world is based in 1962. So Vic Fontaine was only 2 years away from Star Trek existing.
That's awesome.
Crazy, right?
Well, he will get there because now his program's on.
That's right. So Ronald Moore commented, the show that was originally pitched to us was called Everyone Comes to Quarks. It was one of those intriguing ideas that everybody liked, but nobody knew how to make it work. It was a high concept show where you would just do an entire episode set completely in quarks, and you tell all of the stories only in quarks. You do a whole day, from Quark opening the bar to Quark closing it at night, but we could never really make it work. But none of us wanted to give up on it, especially me. Let's do the goddamn show this year, I think I said. Or it might have been Ira. One of us said, if we set the show in VIX, you could do the whole episode in the holosuite. Maybe it would come off a little easier. We all sparked on that idea, and we decided to weave a bunch of different stories. And Ira said, we need a really strong one. We don't have the heavy one, the one that would be the spine to the episode. This was around the time that we were working on Siege of AR-558, and they were having this big to-do about Nog's leg. These creepy internal discussions that you have. Is it one leg or both legs? If it's not both legs, it's too much. No, if it's both, it's too much. Anyway, once that had gone into motion, and that could be the spine of the episode. And then, of course, they realized that the rest of the silliness didn't make sense in this story, which was such a good idea. And it's so funny how, like, the way the writing process goes. You start with one thing and it becomes something completely different. I still kind of want the episode they're pitching.
It's like a Cheers. It's like a day in the life of Cheers.
To like a day in the life of Quarks, and everything happens within the bar within the course of a day. I still love that idea for an episode. I'm delighted of what it turned into, but like what a cool way to do that. Anyway, yeah, just interesting to see how the writing room works. All right, our guest stars this week, and the guest stars run this show. This episode is a two-hander with two guest stars. Although Aaron Eisenberg should have been a main cast member by now.
I mean, he is. Let's be honest.
He for sure is, but not technically.
And look, it's 2025, and we are just about to maybe get our first real Nog figure.
For sure, yeah. So there we go.
Never lived to see it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, goddamn. Our guest stars are Aaron Eisenberg as Nog, of course, Max Grodenchik as Rom, Chase Masterson as Lita, special guest star James Darren as Vic Fontaine, and co-star Tammy Adrian George as Kesha. It's so funny. I think about the Vic Fontaine, even as many times as I've seen the series, right? We were talking earlier about this thing, and I was like, oh, at some point it's going to become a musical, and we're going to like introduce this whole new character. It's going to be so important. And in my head canon, I would have guessed Vic comes in like season 5 because he's such a big part of the show.
Yeah, Jason was saying, or patron Jason Moe was saying, it's a good thing you like Vic, because if you didn't, this season would become tedious for you. And I was like, yeah, I guess I can see that. But I would argue that as much as Nog has grown over the 7 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Vic has kind of done that same growth in 3-4 episodes.
Yeah.
Not just as a character, but I think as an actor, where he starts from, which was like was good, but a little bippity writing wise, but he was a little stagnated, not particularly a great actor. And this episode,
he's so good
to not only be grounded in an episode with this subject matter, but to take the dialogue that is still tropey mess
Right.
purposefully and infuse the empathy that is necessary. That is not an easy thing.
And so much nonverbal acting.
Yeah.
There's the moment where he's talking with Dax, where he realizes that he's being selfish. That's all nonverbal. He does such a good. James Darren does a phenomenal job in this episode. Anyway, you want to know whose acting didn't need to improve because it was perfect right from the very beginning?
You're real good, buddy. That was good. I definitely am stalling right now because I did not do it this round. Hey, it's the patrons, Keith.
Yeah. Let's go into our screening room, shall we? Let's go to our screen. Oh, well, we're good.
Should I play the award music, the patron music really loud again?
Oh, Jesus. So, Nog is arriving back on the station for the first time since losing his leg. It's been 2 months of recovery. Dax tries to calm a very nervous Rom and Lita. They arrive in the cargo bay instead of the regular airlock because they need room for the full cast. And they're all here to greet Nog. And he arrives late and slowly, limping with a cane. They all applaud, but it's very clear from the start that this is overwhelming and stressful for Nog. They all gently tease him about his medical leave and invite him to a party. However, Nog declines and says, "If it's all the same to you, sir, I'm pretty tired. I'd rather just go to my quarters. Is that all right?" He also rejects Jake's offer to take his bag, then slowly walks away from his friends. And I think this is such a great and honest depiction right from the very start. And what I really appreciate here is Nog's discomfort, right? As somebody without, I don't have war PTSD, but I am autistic. So I can certainly understand everyone like the big room of people wanting to sing happy birthday or whatever, and that being overwhelming, and I'd rather not. But the problem with everybody else thinking they're doing something to support you and being excited for you and wanting to do the right thing, and then you have to pretend like you're up for it when you're not, like that's something that a lot of people deal with all the time. But for somebody coming back with this type of PTSD, it's got to be a particular type of hell.
I observed the same. I think what I want to commend about this portion of the episode is it's kind of one of the first times we get to see Esri being good at her job.
Yes.
In recognizing that those telltale signs and allowing that space for Rom right up front.
Yep.
Whereas obviously people are excited to not just congratulate him, but I think they want to show their appreciation. I think that's important, and that's difficult. It's difficult for people to understand that can be more harm than good.
That's not helpful at that time. Yeah, and I think the other thing is him fiercely trying to hold on to his independence by not letting Jake take his bag. And I'll say this especially for the first half of this. What the show is brave enough to do is let us be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right? Because Nog is not behaving the way that we want him to behave. We want him to be happy. We're the rest of the crew that we want to cheer and applaud. And we see his discomfort, we see other people's discomfort in his discomfort and not knowing what to do and the frustration with it. And it is for the audience member who care about all of these people and care deeply about Nog, it's uncomfortable.
It's
and
not just
really
uncomfortable. There's another word I want to use because I'm going to mention it later. In two scenes specifically I think of, it's also ugly. It's ugly. And people respond to high stress and high difficult moments with some ugliness sometimes, and they show us that. They show us our characters that we love being ugly. Rom is one of them. Jake is one of them, and our whole crew. We'll get to it, but I agree with you. There's courage.
It is easy to talk about the cost of war in terms of lives and wounds. And, this is part of it. The cost of trauma is this as well. It's not just the thing.
What this series does so great is it can zoom way out, right? The Dominion War as this huge thing, and we're getting lost in the numbers. We can't even say there's so many names. We can't even read them anymore. But then the next episode, or the next couplet of episodes, we can zoom into one experience that makes it so specific we can feel it.
And to deal with the thing, right, which was AR-558, but also deal with the after effects, to deal with the consequences, to deal with the ripples in the pond. And I think that is a maturity that most shows do not have. And I really appreciate that. So in Act 1, Esri is having a counseling session with Nog, but she's doing most of the talking. He doesn't really want to talk. And he realizes he's sort of paranoid about the cane problem. You're about to ask me why I need to walk with the cane since Dr. Debeneset told you my biosynthetic leg is working perfectly. He also told you the problem's all in my head, that I'm crazy. And Esri says, forget what he thinks. What do you think? Why do you need the cane? My leg hurts, and if I put my full weight on it, it hurts more, so I have to limp, and that means I walk with a cane. And Esri sounds reasonable to me, which is the right thing for the counselor to do there. But Nog is sick of counseling and just wants to be left alone. Esri gets it and leaves. Good Esri. Nog is clearly depressed and goes to bed early. And in bed, he plays a recording of Vince Fontaine singing I'll Be Seeing You, which Bashir also played on the AR-558 when he was injured. Again, it lets us sit here in the sadness of this. It's so freaking sad.
And I think the repetition of the song is a great way to haunt us.
Yes.
Annoy us a little bit, show Jake's annoyance here, but also then that dovetails into the hyperfixation, to the dreaming of it, the sort of needing to live in the trauma of it. I mean, those are all real experiences and real things that people deal with. I also love that in a future where we can light beam away injuries, we can put a new leg on you, we can do all these things. Phantom limb syndrome, anxiety, PTSD, mental issues, which to this day, I spoke to my psychiatrist today, and she was like, look, as much as we know about these medications and the way they operate in the brain, we don't know anything 100% for certain. And even in the future, hundreds of years in the future, that is still the case.
No, 100%. And I think, Jake's story here is such an interesting one, where somebody who deeply cares and is desperately trying to help, it's also annoying.
Yes.
Right? Dealing with trauma for the person dealing with trauma is horrible. For the people caring for them, it's confusing, it's frustrating, it's annoying, it's heartbreaking, and Jake sort of tries all of the things, and sometimes it is beating your head against a wall because it's not going to work on your timetable.
Though I will say, I mean, I don't want to get too flip, right? I want to address this seriously, but I did think, it is a little convenient in that two things. One, I mean, he could just put earphones on, right?
Yep.
I mean, I would love to see what Ferengi AirPods look like.
That's right. Well, they didn't have earbuds. It would have to be like the big headphones,
right? But in the future,
in the 90s.
This goes back to what we were talking on the Strange New Show about like clothes that make you warm or cold. That are like the future. We should have clothes that are temperature climate controlling, right?
Yes.
You should be able to listen to music without headphones, and it should be isolated to just you, right? We have that technology, right? Interference field, whatever it is. Especially if Jake's sleeping right there, like. But again, story.
Story. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So Cisco and Esri are discussing the situation. And Cisco tells us that Jake says Nog has been sleeping 18 hours a day. And Julian says he's missed his last 2 physical therapy appointments. And Esri says, and his counseling sessions are going nowhere. In his words, he's sick of talking about his feelings. Can't say I blame him. He's been under constant psychiatric care for almost 2 months now. So what do we do? I'm not sure. For now, our best option is maybe to simply watch and wait. Cisco says, not my first choice. I know, but sometimes a patient can help guide his own treatment. Let's see what Nog does next. Good job, Ezri.
Great.
Exactly right. So later, as you mentioned, it's the middle of the night, and Nog is playing the same song on repeat. It's keeping his roommate Jake up. No headphones in the future, apparently, like I said. Jake snaps and confiscates his recording. Aren't you going to say anything? You've barely said any 3 words to me since you came home. Maybe I don't have anything to say.
This is such an incredible scene, right? And then the scene in the restaurant as well. Because, look, we all have trauma as you get older. Friends who aren't, you will have trauma. And you will never see me putting trauma on a sliding scale, right? Your experience is your experience. No one's is better or worse than anyone else's. But what is probably more universal is our experience in life dealing with someone else who is in their trauma. Mm-hmm. And it can be frustrating. It can be annoying. And you get a little grace. It's okay if you snap. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it's to be expected that you will snap. Or
it is human.
You know, how many times have you found yourself saying to someone, "You're being impossible. What is the matter? How can I help? I'm trying to help you." And their needs and their expression of those needs might be hypocritical, or they might be paradoxical. And that
trauma is not rational.
Yeah, that is a frustrating experience, and I'm glad we get to see both sides of it. Whilst we are zooming in on Nog's experience, we are still getting the external experience as well.
It
also
has
difficult to do.
Compassion for the whole picture.
Yeah,
it is showing the whole picture, and I think that's it's incredible for its ability to do that. So Jake suggests that Nog just go to the Hollow Suite to hear the song. So as Nog slowly walks to Quark's, he flashes back to the injury, thus reinforcing what his PTSD is about. He breaks into the Hollow Suite and turns on the Vic Fontaine program. Vic introduces himself, and Nog requests, "I'll be seeing you." And Vic says, "Sounds like it's a special tune." "It is. It helped me out once when I was unhappy." And Vic says, "What more can you ask from a song?" Boy, is that the truth. Mm-hmm. It's such like a little throwaway, but God, isn't that the whole point?
And I love that he can't explain really why he needs to hear it, and why he is compulsed to play it over and over again.
Just is. Nog closes his eyes and listens intently as Vic sings, which I think there's something incredibly impactful about seeing Nog close his eyes. Mm-hmm. And because this part, obviously he's listening intently, but you think about how often do we see a character with their eyes closed that is not asleep on television? Never. Yes. I think it goes hand in hand with there's a lot of silence. And this episode also has there's also a lot of non-silence, but this episode has the courage to not have a ton of dialogue in moments, mm-hmm. has the courage to, in general, slow down. This opening couple of acts, it picks up pace towards the end. The opening couple of acts is very meditative. And that's ballsy, man, on a TV show. Yeah, well, I mean, for a sci-fi fantasy pew pew run, mm-hmm. just about feelings, about dark, uncomfortable feelings. Yep. So he flashes back to the AR-558 again. This is where we see the cutscene of Bashir explaining why he played the recording. Later, Vic has been singing the same song over and over and over again in 15 different arrangements, including closing with an up-tempo version. And of course, Nog's favorite is the original. Vic then asks about his leg. He knows what's going on, of course. And Nog says, "If you really want to know, it hurts." "Can't they give you something for that?" "No, they say it's all in my head. According to the tricorder, the pain receptors in your leg aren't being stimulated. Nog, you must be imagining it. I don't care what they say, it hurts all the time."
Phantom limb syndrome?
Yeah, Vic says, "I believe you. You're the only one." Nog wants to go to bed, but he doesn't want to sleep in the real world. He asks if he can stay with Vic in the holosuite. Maybe not just more than just tonight. Officially, I'm on medical leave, and according to regulations, I can choose my own rehabilitation facility. So he moves into Vic's suite at the hotel. Such an interesting idea. So in Act 2, Esri updates most of the cast on Nog's progress. Definitely a major HIPAA violation. I mean, I get his CO and his parents and doctor, okay, but Uncle Quark and his BFF? What?
He might have put him on the list. You don't know.
That's true. That is 100%.
My mom's list is large.
That is true. That is different. Yes. But Esri has his back. She thinks they should let him play this out. And so does Bashir.
So,
Bashir's
lost opportunity here, if I may. So this is one of those ugly scenes. I felt very turned off by their response to this because they show a lot of empathy early on, and Jake even says, I want to help you, but then they all are so quick to be like, he wants to stay in the holosuite? That's crazy. Now, right. Especially with their experience with holosuites, it's basically real, right? And replicators and all that. So it's not that insane to me. What they could have done, there's a quick scene here where you could have had Quark, and I don't actually know the science of this, so you can tell me maybe in lore. Like a scene of them peering through the window of the holosuite. Like you see Quark, you see Nog in the scene like talking with Vic, and then you just see their perspective of him just kind of like talking to the air or whatever. That would kind of show the disconnect of why they'd be like, that's nuts. But the general concept of him staying in a fantasy world makes a ton of sense. And them responding so negatively to it seems very, I guess, 90s of it.
Yeah,
mental healthy.
It's like they... Well, I mean, they're obviously speaking for people who don't understand that people need individualized care and stuff like that. So...
Now, once he's been in there for a long time, I can understand that then we could get this color. But it seems a little premature for this color.
Agreed. But I appreciate that Esri and Bashir have his back. And Bashir says, I'm with Esri on this one. The mind has a strong natural instinct for survival. For whatever reason, Nog's mind has found shelter in the world of Vic Fontaine. So
now, hold on, last thing. Sorry, buddy. I have a lot of feelings about this episode.
That's great. That's what we're here for.
Do you remember a month ago whenever we did the AR 558? I was a little... everybody was giving Quark so many flowers for his conversation about don't trust him, blah, 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 blah. Well, and I was like, let's back up. Well, I'd like to just revel in it for a minute because he's a complete dick here. That's he loves Nog so much. He wants to protect him so much. But the second he's got to pay for a couple extra days in the holosuite, he's a complete douchebag. So that's my feelings on Quark in this episode.
Well, yes, and Quark got a Quark. Part of it is an affectation. He's got to do the thing. And now that for him, the bullets aren't flying, I'm going to go and, default back to it's not an emergency anymore. So I can sort of be the wacky uncle and be a little bit more selfish. Like his what counts as an emergency so I don't be selfish is set at bullets flying.
All right. Well, juxtapose that with Lita and Ram, and let's decide when you watch this with your children, viewers at home, decide whom you want your children to model.
Well, for sure. I don't think anyone's arguing that Quark is the good guy here.
Yeah, well, Quark is often on the TV shows promoting the show, and I'm just saying we should have had more Ram.
Well, agreed. So Esri meets with Vic and explains the situation. He agrees to help and see if he can wean Nog off of the cane. The cane, of course, are our physical representation of his mental health. So later, Nog, wearing 60s human clothes, is watching Shane on an old television. I never saw Shane.
Oh, buddy. Shane's good.
Okay. Vic is worrying about his finances. Nog notices that people in movies don't really face any consequences when they get shot. Obviously quite different from what he is experiencing. And again, great. It's a little bit meta, right? Because like even on Deep Space Nine, there aren't a lot of consequences when you get shot. But for him,
also, can we just shout out the 60s time capsule set dressing here? So good.
Fantastic. Such a, and for them, so great to film on this set because you only have to light it once. So Vic has to get to the show, but he has a gift for Nog. A new cane that's a replica of an Errol Flynn cane, including a lion head and a lighter. But he warns Nog that it's fragile, so he might not be able to put his whole weight on it. They put on matching tuxedos and arrive at the club. Vic sings, while Jake and a Bajoran girl arrive on a date. They sit down with Nog. Nog is still deeply unhappy. Jake goes to get drinks, and Kesha, Jake's date, makes the mistake of calling Nog a hero. He gets angry and paranoid, and paranoid that she's obsessed with his leg. He snaps at her and tells them both to leave. Jake asks what the problem is, and Nog flips the table and punches Jake in the face. Vic intervenes and kicks Nog out of the club. Vic's compassion mixed with accountability is really well tuned to the situation. So a couple of things in this scene. One, the fact that being called a hero would be triggering to Nog. I think that is that's one of those things that I became culturally aware of because of this episode. And then was able to recognize it and understand it. A lot of the things moving forward, because when the 1998, I didn't have as much of a reference point for it, but then over the next 10, 15 years, we went through the second Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, and seeing that this was a common thing, weirdly, my reference point for that problem was this episode. And so I'm grateful to be given that context for it.
Yes. Yes, and this is one of those moments where they, we're getting so much empathy for Nog, but also now we have to show the ugly side of it. And, having this woman be so lovely and understanding.
He's a dick.
He's a complete dick. And I was so, like you said, the accountability that Vic showed. And I started thinking, obviously, one part of my brain was just enjoying the episode and thought that was a really great combination. But also I'm thinking in my head, like, what AI model is Vic based on, right? Like, does he always operate with, clearly not. Does he, at this point I'm thinking, does he always operate with actual therapeutic knowledge to help him, right? There's got to be logs of people and studies.
Right.
Did Bashir, since Bashir created this program, put any of that in there? But they only kind of explain any of that by saying like, or O'Brien says it later, the Vic program sort of does its own thing.
Yeah.
So, but
it's been learning too.
Right. Clearly.
And he has self-awareness.
And I guess it's being there's some oversight that Ezri feels like she has. I guess does, really.
But doesn't have agency over Vic.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's another sort of tangential thing in here which I think is really cool. So I think in the beginning of the episode, if someone had confronted, like Jake did, had confronted Nog with any sort of accountability, fight or flight kicks in, right? And he goes to the holodeck. But however, here when Vic does it, he doesn't exit the program. He doesn't shut it all down. He goes back upstairs. Yeah. Which is the first indication. I know we're using the cane as this metaphor moving forward, but this is the first indication that maybe there's been some progress or that this is an effective strategy for him because he's staying with it.
Well, and for sure. And that's why Vic's calibration of compassion and accountability, because one without the other does not really serve somebody in need. You need to have both. And I think it's just beautifully calibrated. I'm kicking you out of this bar, but I'm not kicking you out of the holosuite. Great. Just It's oddly beautiful. I think Vic's role in all of this is beautiful, which is a weird. It's heartbreaking the way that he handles this, which I think is great.
And let's step aside from the episode for a second. Really great performance. Really incredible performance.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So in Act 3, Nog
and
apologizes.
Jake too, by the way.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, Syrup.
So Nog apologizes to Vic later back in the apartment. And Vic says, okay, what got into you anyway? And Nog says, I don't know. She started calling me a hero and things kind of went downhill from there. She called you a hero. And for that, you slug your best friend? Remind me not to pay you any compliments. But of course, for a lot of people coming back from war with trauma who get called heroes, it brings in guilt. It brings in shame. I wasn't able to say, I don't feel like a hero. I sure as hell don't feel like one. So everyone calling me that weirdly makes me feel specifically not listened to and not seen, because that does not match how I'm seeing and experiencing the world. So you obviously have no idea who I am and what's going on. Very isolating.
Great thing here to be pointed out. So yes, obviously we only have 48 minutes, so there's some truncation. But that said, therapy, we usually focus on medication and we focus on the roadblocks. However, a lot of people have a bad therapist and so they don't like therapy. But when you find the right one or the right treatment for you, this is a great example. This scene right here is what good therapy is. It's not a lot of times, it's not always breakthroughs. Just Nog expressing his discomfort and expressing what causes him to, what he's feeling, whether he knows why or what, just expressing what his triggers are shows so much growth that people don't get to. People don't say out loud what's bothering them, or they don't take the time to step outside of the experience and identify what's triggering them or what emotions are being exposed. But that all happens in this talk therapy scene right here on the couch.
Right. Yep.
It's just great to be shown, and on television, and it's two men. It's very interesting.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Got no question. Then we add this next wrinkle, which I think is also beautiful. Vic mentions he's tired.
Yeah. Which
is new for him because he's never had his program running for more than a few hours. So now we've spent all this time in Nog's head. Now all of a sudden we're seeing Vic and thinking about Vic's experience here and how they might be helping each other. And Vic is worried about his taxes. And this gives Nog the opportunity to use his Ferengi skills to save the day, which is why service is an important part of recovery. Right from the very beginning. Not like when you're done. Right from the very beginning, because having that sense of purpose, having that sense of agency is integral to recovery.
So wormhole / awesome thing. Number one, I would say, I'm just going to throw it out there real quick. The semi-sentience of Vic is feels a wormhole lead. We don't really ever really address it, and we kind of placate it. It does feel like it's his experience and knowing that he's outside of the program, looking in, but still experiencing the program. None of it completely makes sense to me.
Well, how so?
Well,
it's just like we have AI today. We just determine whether or not it's aware that it's AI or not in the code.
Right, but he knows he's so well. It's kind of Westworldy. He's so well versed in how not real he is, and yet he's still obsessed with the finances and the taxes and all the stuff that he knows doesn't matter within the program.
Here we are. You and I know Deep Space Nine isn't real.
Yeah.
It's a TV show. It's all fake. And yet here we are, also holding in one hand the realization that it's fake and not real, also invested in these characters, and we can hold those two things at the same time.
I guess. He can also leave the program and all. The Vic of it all is, he's a little, his sentience is weird to me. I will say, I think it's more complex. There's more questions than answers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
However, also, this is also a first bit where we get to see I like this wrinkle, is that Vic isn't like, at this point I'm realizing he's not programmed to be a therapist, because a therapist would be like, let's give him the finances and the services to help him, right? Like, this is all part of his play. But Vic, I don't think, is in on anything past the cane.
You know, that's a really interesting question.
I think Vic is shown to be a little selfish in this.
I read it as the taxes thing is a ploy to give him an agency to help me.
Oh, I don't think so. And then he gets carried away with the casino and stuff?
Of course he does.
Oh,
because
I think past the cane, it's all
like, whoa, interesting. Because I think that inclusive of the taxes, this is an opportunity to give Nog some agency to help him. But then when the idea of a new casino comes in, ooh, this is fun. Not necessarily like, I know the casino's not real, I know the money isn't real, but it's my world and it's kind of fun. And now I'm sort of getting invested in it. And you can lose yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters. Oh,
No.
I guess it does, but either way, it's good modeling of how to help people in these different
Yeah.
things. We're still learning, the concept is still there of service, and I think whether he intends for it to be or not, it shows.
Yeah.
So, but I'm curious what other people think.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So the next day, Vic is holding court and Esri comes in to check on Nog. Yes.
Lastly, before we move forward, he also doesn't dismiss him. Could have been, he's pissed that he threw him out of the club and all that stuff, and he could have been like, get the fuck out. But he doesn't, because that is also friendship and help.
Yeah, for sure. Esri, on the other hand, has heard about what happened with Jake and says, I think it's time for Nog to leave the Hollow Suite. But Vic's got his back. Wait a minute. He likes it here. He's making real progress. Okay, he lost his cool. I don't think it'll happen again. Vic, he can't hide in here forever. He has to face reality sometime. And I love what Vic says here. This kid's had too much reality, if you ask me. He lost a leg. He's watched good friends die. Like you told me, we shouldn't push him. He needs time to heal. Esri tries to pull rank, but Vic has his back. And Nog arrives and says, if you try to force me to leave, I'll resign my commission. Love it. Again, Nog taking control over his recovery. Awesome. Nog is all excited because he has discovered that Vic is swimming in money and it's time for him to build his own casino. So in Act 4, under the music of It's Only a Paper Moon, we get a montage of Nog helping Vic design the new casino.
It's an extended sitcom opening, is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a sitcom I would watch.
It's fantastic. And it again, like I use this word constantly, it's beautiful.
It's
right?
beautiful.
Nog, we see, is building a sense of purpose and joy, and Esri clocks that he's using his cane less. Now it's more of an affectation than a necessity.
So I want to point out two things real quick. Just showing sort of the predictive experience, or the how specific this experience is and how much they nailed it, and also some other media that played in. So first thing first, there was a movie that Steve Carell was in, but it's based on a documentary that I'm going to bring. I've brought up once before in another show when we were doing the practice, so I'm going to bring it up here. It's called Marwen Call. It was a documentary. It's also known as Village of the Dolls in the UK. It's a 2010 American documentary film that explores the life and work of artist and photographer Mark Hogenkamp. It was the inspiration for the Welcome to Marwen Call, a 2018 drama directed by Zemeckis. This isn't about war, but this guy, Mark Hogenkamp, was attacked outside of a bar. And they beat it was a hate crime. They thought he was a cross-dresser. They were calling him all kinds of stuff. They beat the living crap out of him. And that trauma screwed him up. He wasn't able, he was discharged. He couldn't afford therapy. He couldn't do anything clinical. And so he built a 1/6 scale World War II replica of a Belgian town he made up called Marwen Call. He populated it with dolls that represented himself, his friends, his attackers, and basically does this. He lives an entire life inside of this. He's aware that it is a separate reality. He photographs it. He documents it. It is not a delusion. It is a therapeutic, self-created bit of therapy. It is this exact thing, right?
Yeah.
It took place 20 years after this. And this guy, it helped him. It helps him. So that's incredible. If you haven't seen that documentary, you must watch it. I saw the film as well. I give it a hard meh. You must watch the documentary. Welcome. It's just called Marmot Call.
I mean, again, art, right? You write a song, you write a play, you write a book, you create something, you take pictures, all of it to work through your stuff. And
then in the addition to that, this also gave me strong WandaVision vibes. Right?
Yeah, sure.
She put herself in a self-isolated world of 60s television, which is precisely what this
survived the trauma. Yeah. 100%. So time passes, and Nog and Vic are now really good friends. Nog is blossoming with a new sense of purpose. Then one night, Rom and Lita arrive at the club. Nog now greets them warmly, and they catch up. Rom in real life has been promoted, and Nog is delighted and says, "We should celebrate. We should close the lounge and have a private party." And Lita says, "Well, actually, Chief O'Brien threw him a party last night."
Chief
The
O'Brien threw a
implications. Yeah, because he's his boss.
Yeah, I know. It's not. I don't see him as the party planning type, but okay.
Yeah, well, you know, it was probably just drinking.
Yeah.
So the implication is obvious. Nog runs off to schmooze with a holographic big spender. This is our moment where Nog realizes real life is continuing without him, but he's not ready to do it yet. So Vic then catches up with Ezri and reports that Nog no longer needs his cane. And Ezri asks, "Well, what's next for you two? You gonna convince him it's time to leave the holosuite?" And Vic says, "Well, no." And Ezri says, "Forget it. I should know better by now than to ask you to give away your secrets. You've probably everything all mapped out. I mean, what am I thinking? This new casino is anything more than a ploy? That you're really gonna let him live out the rest of his life in a holosuite?" And it's clear this is not Vic's plan, and that the implications have real consequences on him as well. This is the nonverbal piece of acting that I see from him, as he realizes, oh crap, I've gotten wrapped up in this too, and this is real for me.
What's really cool here, if you will, is Ezri, right, who's been sort of respectfully sidelined, ain't stopping, and she is now reverse psychologying a hologram in order to affect her patient. Now that is next level, baby.
Oh, well, yeah, although I think she might be, or is she giving him the benefit of the doubt?
No,
and he catches...
dude, she is... What
do you think?
This is funny. Let's see what you guys think, but for sure, she is now intentionally flopping him.
Oh, because I read that as she trusts him now. And
no, I'm more confident now about this than I'm about the Vic thing with the money.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So
either works too. Either works.
No, the other work. It's interesting. Ezri finishes. It's just like you said. He needed a break from reality. Now all that's left is to decide when he's ready to go back. But I'll leave that up to you. See you around. And Vic now, realizing that he got wrapped up in it himself for his own reasons, realizes that Nog can't be here forever. He goes to Nog and says, "It's time for you to go, kid." "Go where?" "You know where. Time to end the program." "But we've got work to do. We have the casino to build." "No, we don't. This is just a fantasy. It's not real." Nog says, "It's real to me, and it's real to you. Don't say that it isn't. I know better." "You're right. It's very real to me, but I'm a hologram, Nog. I'm not a person. Until you came along, I'd never been on for more than 6 or 7 hours straight." "I know, but now you're running all the time. Isn't it great?" And then Vic said, "Oh, this broke my heart." Vic said, "It's incredible. Since you've been here, I've slept in a bed every night. I've gone to work every day, had time to read the paper, play cards with the boys. I've had a life. And I have to tell you, it's a precious thing. I had no idea what it means to just live. Now I'm going to return the favor and give you your life back."
So that's the problem with being a semi-sentient hologram, right?
Yeah.
When they turn off the lights, it's like
aware
Groundhog's
of it.
Day. You know that. You know what
Yeah.
you're missing. That's like my fear of death, right? Like you hope when the lights go out, that's it, right?
Yeah.
But like, what if you're aware? That's
Well,
hell.
and it can be cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we realize that like it's the flip side to the sentience. Like in some ways he really benefits from that, but in some ways he doesn't, because now he's sort of in a zoo, right?
Yeah, he's always working. You're always at
yeah.
the club working.
So Vic then forces the program to end, leaving a distressed Nog alone in the holosuite. So Act 5, Nog is working furiously to force Vic's program back on. But O'Brien comes in and gently tells him that Vic has control over whether or not his program is on.
See this, when I said earlier, like the looking in, this would have been a great, I mean, they have the shot. You just see
They
him kind of
do.
like acting it out. I don't know how it works though. There's no windows, obviously.
No, well, I mean, they certainly could, right? But I think it's a HIPAA violation. I think it's against the law.
Yeah, it's like if you were doing the porno program, nobody's.
No, exactly. Like, I would want some pretty clear rules on who can just peek into my holosuite. Thank you very much. I need a damn VPN on that one. That's for darn sure. There's I'm not trusting the private tab. You know what I mean?
Oh God, no.
So he leaves, and Vic appears to talk. And Nog says, "You don't get it. I can't go out there." Why not? And here's where, like, oh my God, give this man his gosh darn Emmy. He says, "I'm scared. Okay, I'm scared. When the war started, I wasn't happy or anything, but I was eager. I wanted to test myself. I wanted to see if I had what it takes to be a soldier. And I saw a lot of combat. I saw a lot of people get hurt. I saw a lot of people die. But I never thought anything was going to happen to me. Then suddenly Dr. Bashir is telling me they have to cut my leg off. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. If I can get shot, if I can lose a leg, anything could happen to me, Vic. I could die tomorrow. I don't know if I can face that. If I stay here, at least I know what the future's gonna look like." And my God, does Aaron Eisenberg just obliterate this.
So, hot take incoming.
Yeah.
We've seen some incredible monologues. Mostly Nana Visitor jumps to mind.
Yep.
We've seen Avery Brooks give some bangers. We've seen Garrick give a couple bangers. We've seen that two-hander with Majel Barrett, with Oda, with Renee.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's fresh, but I think I'm ready to say this is the monologue of the series.
It might be the finest piece of acting we see on the series.
That's my hot take.
It's astounding. It really, really is. Yeah. Aaron Eisenberg deserves all of the
and put a giant head on me with giant ears,
Under
prosthetics,
all of that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a guest star, right? And it's like unbelievable.
His eyes aren't even focused in this, but it's everything.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So Vic says, "You stay in here, you're gonna die. Not all at once, but little by little, and eventually you become as hollow as I am." Now, I would argue that Vic is not so hollow. But
point taken.
But point taken. So obviously it's an incredible performance from Aaron, but I think James Darren is fantastic as well.
Fantastic. Great reaction. Great. Like I said, all of his dialogue in response to Nog is good. It's full of analogy, it's full of simile, it's very poetic, and it's within his jargon, which could get lost and a little even trite, but does not, because the performance is sincere.
He is feeling it, and it's just an incredibly good performance. Because reacting to that is just as important as what Aaron's doing.
And I'm glad that they don't overuse. Well, I guess they couldn't. I guess they got such a great take. They were like, we're using the coverage we have. They didn't do tights on anybody. Like, it was
just stand back and cover it, 100%. So the emotions released, Nog is able to walk out of the holosuite sans cane. And he arrives in a closed Quark, where Rom, Lita, Quark, and Quark run into him as he's leaving. And Lita says, "Are you okay?" And Nog says, fantastic line, "No, but I will be." And they all hug, and Keith cries again.
Mm-hmm.
So time has passed, and Nog returns to catch up with Vic. And Nog is back on partial duty. And Vic says, "How's it feel?" And Nog says, again, another just crusher of a line. "How's it feel?" "Different. I feel older." Ugh, just hitting on some damn truth in the writing here. But Nog, then, if you couldn't get any better, he has a gift for Vic. He has arranged to leave his program on 26/7. He's giving Vic a life. As a result of this, and Vic starts singing "I've Got the World on a String."
Now, they didn't need that scene, right? Vic's a hologram. He did his purpose there. He's happy singing. But he gave him something. And they spent so much time this episode not even saying it. But this episode is as much about recovery and trauma and healing as it is about a friendship. This is one of the quickest friendships we ever see develop. It's through a montage, but it's through a shared experience. And Vic gave him he expanded his life again. And so Nog is able to also expand his. It's very
giving each other lives.
It's very Aladdin wishing the genie free.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it is just beautiful. And I love that they let him sing and do all of that.
Although I don't know how 26 hours in the day helps the 60s program. We're going to have to...
They'll have to,
we're going to have to
shave it off here and there. But, all right, so we might lose our monetization on this episode out of this, but I think this is how... I've been trying to figure out when to play this, but I think now is the moment. So, what we are going to watch is a short clip from What We Leave Behind, the documentary about the making of Deep Space Nine, which we will definitely cover when we are done here. But this was an extended clip they released the day that Aaron died, talking about his experience on Deep Space Nine.
When I look back about what I left behind, all I see are 7 years of joy. I mean, I had such a wonderful time. That 7 years changed my life. It didn't just change my life because I was part of Star Trek. As an actor, I had so much fun. It was such a joy to play that character. Nog was he was so parallel to my own life, and I don't know if you knew that. It was almost because you guys were there, somehow you picked up on who I was, and you put that in that character. Because his life was literally parallel, but just amplified, because Nog was amplified as a Ferengi. You know, I went through a kidney transplant at 14. When I was 17, I got into acting, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I made that choice, which is outside the norm of our regular society. Parents are like, "Oh no, don't go into acting, go be a doctor." And I did it because I fell in love with it. And I thought to myself, I don't know how long I've got. I don't know, I might have 4 years, I might have 10, but I'm gonna fucking go for it. Because I don't know where it's gonna take me, and I wanna know that I at least tried. And I did. And every time you guys call me, I'm like, I'm working. My dream is coming true. And not only was I working, but you guys were giving me great stuff. I had a great cast, I had a great crew, I had great production. Every time I worked, I'm like, oh my God, this is the life I set out for. Nog went through the same path. He went through the same path. He was in something, he had change, he said, I want to go for that. He went for it. People gave him that chance. People gave me a chance. And that's and I don't even think I left it behind, because I always carry that love for the show with me wherever I go. And when I get to go to Star Trek conventions and meet the fans, and they say how much they love the show, and then I see their kids that are 10 going, Nog's great, I love Nog. I'm like, man, look at this, I'm part of this. I will forever be a part of this. And no one can take that away from me. So when you ask me what I've left behind, it's hard. I can't think I left anything behind because it's still here with me every day.
Oof, right?
Jesus. All right. Well, Keith, I'm going to ruin that by playing the most obnoxious of all theme songs, but...
Step on those feelings.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. AlamarEmmys, there was more. AlamarEmmys, it's AlamarEmmys time.
I'd like to just remind folks, I've many times in my life been paid to sing.
Yeah, and I would like to remind folks that pretty much if you watch one of our series for long enough, I will create beautiful and interesting musical cues, and by the end of the series, we replace them with Mike doing Mike.
Yeah, miking. Yeah,
Mike miking. What was the type of lawyer that we gave an award to at the end of
most valuable lawyer?
Yeah. Well, how did that bumper go?
Oh, I can't remember. You got to give me a hint.
Member, most valuable.
Oh, I got it. And my voice broke on air. Most lawyer. Oh, it was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta find that clip.
Yeah. That's
anyway.
Really worth it. I think it's hard.
Let's talk best
I
moment.
just kind of feel like if it all begins and ends with that monologue, right? I think all the pros of the episode are. Everything good about the episode is distilled in that monologue. Not just the growth of it, not just the experience of it, but the reception of it. It does everything. I mean, we've discussed the performance aspect, but I think thematically it covers so much and is so raw and visceral and forces the audience to bear witness, forces us to reckon with our own demons and those of our colleagues and friends. It's just incredible.
And Aaron's performance.
Yes.
I mean, holy crap. Duh. Yeah. Not only is it the best moment of this episode, it's one of the best moments of the series.
Yep.
As we just watched, in your term, like watching Aaron's feelings about it and feelings about being on this show, like, holy crap. Like, it is so layered and so beautiful. Once again, I'm going to use the word beautiful a lot. Talking
Actually,
about
that clip really affected me. I was thinking about it. Keith and I had to do a little quick cut of the episode. I had a meeting for work, and I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't not pay attention to this meeting because I was thinking about that clip, and I was thinking about how you and I are a great example of this, Keith. We have both done some pretty incredible things in our lives, recognized or unrecognized, professionally or personally, and you've published novels, written shows. I've traveled the world and we will take every chance to shit on that and to downplay it and to not acknowledge the significance of that. I wish for myself, I wish for you, I wish for all of our friends to be able to reckon with the work you've done the way Aaron does in that clip. To appreciate it, to respect it, to understand its impact on others as well as its impact on ourselves and find the ways in which it's ongoing. I wish that for everyone.
Well, what Aaron displays in that clip, and it seems like he had this in all of his life, and perhaps it comes from having health issues so young, is gratitude.
Gratitude.
I think the most beautiful thing that Aaron brings to everything is gratitude. He was there in the moment, feeling it, and being having that gift to himself, to everybody else, to the work, and that's beautiful. That's my catchphrase today. Let's hand out some stem bolts, shall we? Hope we saved up.
Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some stem bolts.
I jotted this down. It's Only a Paper Moon is Deep Space Nine at its most compassionate and precise. It lets two of our recurring characters carry the entire hour, which I guess you could say is a gamble. But sometimes I would say in this example, it's a feature, not a bug. Aaron Eisenberg delivers one of, if not the most raw and layered performances in the series. I think James Duran turns Vic into more than a lounge act, more than a hologram. He grounds the story with quiet wisdom. And in times where I think it's debatable whether it's intentional or unintentional, just his ever-present compassion and stability with his friend is just quintessential empathy and the most human love we see in this episode. In fact, in this episode, I would say Jimmy shows the most love in combination with Ram and Lita than we get to see often. You know, compare just Lita and Ram's patience in this episode against the O'Briens' frantic battling for Molly in that episode.
Right, sure.
I'm not saying one is better or worse, but just two different types of love and you know, parenting, which I think is really excellent. Nog's late episode monologue, I think, is the best in the series. It's confronting the reality of living with loss. I think it's just I haven't had an experience watching something like that in a long time. The episode's refusal to rush his healing right in the beginning gives it the weight it deserves. We feel every beat of the isolation, the anger, and the reluctant acceptance of said condition, right? You know, I had some quibbles with the holosuite Vic sentience of it all and whatever. That doesn't matter. And of course, the ending gives us a very quick kind of like, he's feeling better now. But I do like that they address that truncation by him saying, I'm not better, but I'm on my way. I think that was a good way to do that. The edges of this episode, Keith, like the edges that you see, right? Even the montage scene, which could, you know, felt a little, the tone there got a little different, but I think that gave us the sense of them getting carried away and living inside this world. But my point there is that the edges of it just serve to highlight the center of it. It's like depth of focus, right? I'm not sure this is Deep Space Nine's, here's my hot take. I'm not sure this is Deep Space Nine's best episode, but I'm pretty sure it's my favorite. And because of that, what was a 97 stem bolt when I wrote it down, upon further reflection of our conversation, is going to become my next 100 self-sealing stem bolt rating.
Yeah. I've been going back and I was looking through the ratings that I've given all throughout the series, right? And I have only given 200s.
I believe we were unanimous, right, on both of those?
We were, yes, we Far Beyond the Stars and In the Pale Moonlight. You also gave 100 to Sacrifice of Angels. And we both gave 99s to The Visitor. And so, you know, for me, looking back on it, I think if I could retroactively go back, I think I'd give The Visitor 100 too, personally. And, you know, and I was curious where I came in on Duet, which I gave a 95. I think I might bump that up a little bit in retrospect, but now having... Anyway, my point being, I think my feeling about It's Only a Paper Moon has sort of done the same thing that over the last 30 years that you did over the last 24 hours, right? Where my appreciation of this episode has grown and grown and grown as I've gotten older, as I've matured, as I've worked through some of my own stuff, as my understanding of trauma has changed. That I think that when I first saw it, I probably would have given it like a 90, right? But as I've grown, as I have, as time has changed, as the world has changed, as all of that, I think it's, again, just going to go back to the word beautiful. I think it is it's a gorgeous piece of television, of acting, of writing. The world is better off for it. It feels a little bit like Far Beyond the Stars, where In the Pale Moonlight gets 100 because it's just astoundingly good television.
Mm-hmm.
Far Beyond the Stars and It's Only a Paper Moon make the world a better place. And they make you a better person for having watched it, not just a more entertained person for having watched it. So I'm also going to give It's Only a Paper Moon the full 100 self-sealing stem bolts. It's just, it's an extraordinary achievement in television. What Aaron does, what James Darren does, guest stars, and the only other major character is Ezri, who's only joined the cast this year. So,
we didn't mention her really in our summary there. She's excellent here too, and
yeah.
The different types of therapy, the different types of help and dealing with these things are exposed in this episode, intentionally or unintentionally. It's pretty wonderful. I do want to point out, because Jason Moe mentioned it in the watch along, I'm going to sneeze.
You mentioned to sneeze? It's a really odd comment for Jason to make.
Think about the Bible of the show, right? Quark is the Ferengi. We're going to deal with Quark, and then we're going to have a couple of comedic... In the first couple seasons, we're doing comedic... If it's a Ferengi episode, it's funny.
Right.
Ram and Nog, probably two of the most three-dimensional, wonderful characters we've created in this whole series. Just...
One of them didn't have a name in the pilot.
And that is commending... to be commended, because the writers sometimes... You got to pivot, and sometimes you got the improvisational nature of writing and creating as you go along leads to some beautiful stuff.
And I think it's also listening. So what was Ezri good at? Listening and adapting and changing her behavior based on new information that she got. I think that's what Aaron said about him as an actor and the producers of it. They saw him as a person and wrote Nog around Aaron the person, and grew with him together, and so that's just really, really fantastic work. I mean, what a feather in your cap. Can you imagine, to be Aaron Eisenberg and to have this one thing from your life's work that you can just so what did you do with your life? There it is. Professionally, obviously, but holy crap. Holy crap. All right. So there it is. I got to take this phone call. Mike, take us away, buddy.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back again next week with whatever Season 7, Episode 11 is. On behalf of myself and my partner in crime, Keith Varney, take care of each other. Listen. Just have some compassion to your fellow man. We'll catch you next week on Keith and Mike. Watch Deep Space Nine.
Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.
Man, look at this. I'm part of this. I will forever be a part of this. No one can take that away from me.